So your big project is finally live. Champagne corks are flying, everyone's high-fiving, but is the job actually done? Well, today we're going to dive into what is maybe the most critical and honestly the most overlooked phase in business analysis, solution evaluation. We are going to break down the official playbook, the Babok Guide, to see what happens after the launch party is over. This explainer is brought to you by the experts over at Oasis&Brooks.
All right, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to walk through it in 6 clear steps, all the way from launch to making things better. And to make it stick, we'll follow the story of a company we'll call Innovate Inc. and their star business analyst, Alex, as they navigate the messy, real world of a brand new system.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Innovate Inc. just flipped the switch on a massive, super expensive CRM system. Now, from a pure project management view, this thing is a masterpiece. It was delivered right on time and perfectly on budget. A total win.
Right? Well, up in the C-suite, they're probably celebrating. But down in the trenches, our BA, Alex, knows the real work is just getting started. And this is so important. A launched solution is not the same thing as a valuable solution. The real finish line isn't the launch date. It's when the business actually starts seeing a real return on that huge investment.
So where does Alex even begin? Well, before you can fix anything, you need to know what's broken. You need data. You have to measure how this shiny new system is actually performing out in the real world. This brings us to the very first task in the Babok playbook: measure solution performance.
You know, the Babok Guide is really clear about this. You can't just rely on gut feelings or what you think is happening. This has to be a systematic search for the right data. The whole goal is to get an objective, totally unbiased look at whether this expensive new tool is helping or maybe even hurting.
And Alex knows that to get the complete story, you need 2 types of data. First, you have your quantitative measures. These are the hard numbers, the stuff you can count, the cold, hard facts. But just as important are the qualitative measures. That's the human side of the story, the feelings and opinions of the people who actually have to use this system day in and day out.
So Alex doesn't just go grabbing random numbers. No, they build a real measurement plan. You can see here they're defining specific key performance indicators, or KPIs, that were actually promised in the original business case. We're talking hard targets for things like ticket resolution time and customer satisfaction, but they're also planning to capture that qualitative feedback through interviews. This is how you define what value actually looks like in practice.
Okay, the plan is in motion. Data starts pouring in. Now we get to the fun part, trying to figure out what story all these numbers are actually trying to tell us. This is our second task: analyze performance measures.
And boom, the very first chart reveals a massive problem. Just look at that gap. The target for resolving a customer ticket was supposed to be under 2 hours. The reality? It's taking 210 minutes. That's not just a little off. It's a giant red flag that the solution is failing one of its most basic promises.
And this right here, this quote, is golden. It explains the why behind the what. The chart told Alex what was happening: long resolution times. But this feedback from a real support agent tells Alex why it's happening. This is that critical context that a bar chart alone can never give you. The system is just clunky for the people on the front lines. So we know the what, and we have a good idea of the why, but what's the root cause? Alex puts on their detective hat and starts the investigation with the most obvious suspect: the tool itself. This leads us right into our third Babok task: assess solution limitations. Is the software itself the problem?
And sure enough, after digging in, Alex finds a whole laundry list of issues baked right into the CRM software. We're talking a confusing interface, slow performance, and just plain frustrating bugs. These aren't just minor annoyances, these are classic solution limitations that are actively sabotaging the very value this project was supposed to create in the first place.
But here's the thing: a great business analyst knows that a flawed tool is almost never the whole story. So what else could be going wrong? Alex has to zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and investigate the entire organization. This is our fourth task: assess enterprise limitations, where we look beyond the software to the people and the processes around it.
And this is absolutely huge. Alex discovers that major organizational problems are crippling the new system. The user training was rushed and inadequate. People are resisting the new process. And critically, look at this. The sales team's performance goals were never updated to actually encourage them to use the new CRM. You can have the best tool in the world, but it will fail every single time if the environment isn't ready for it.
All right, now for the payoff. Alex has done the hard work, they've diagnosed problems with the software and with the organization. It is finally time for the most important step of all, recommending real, concrete actions to stop the bleeding and actually increase the solution's value.
And I want you to notice how smart this is. Alex doesn't just show up with a list of problems. No, they deliver a clear 4-step action plan. And it's brilliant because it attacks the problem from both sides. It fixes the technology by simplifying key workflows, and it fixes the enterprise with better training, updated incentives, and real support. It's a complete, holistic solution.
And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? These aren't just random fixes pulled out of a hat. Every single recommendation is laser-focused on one thing, closing that massive performance gap we saw in the data earlier and finally delivering on the promises that were made when this whole project got the green light.
And that is the real lesson from our story with Alex and Innovate Inc. Launch day is not the finish line, it's the starting line. The true mark of a great business analyst, as the folks at Oasis&Brooks show us, is that relentless cycle of measuring, analyzing, and improving. Because the goal isn't just to launch a solution, it's to deliver real, lasting value. So the question you should be asking in your organization is this: your solution is live, sure, but is it actually creating value? The evaluation is never really over.